Hi everyone! Today is all about growing passion fruit. Now we did a video a couple of weeks ago where we asked for your input about some tips for growing passion fruit and also where to plant it. It's a brand new tropical fruit for me and I'm very excited to grow it. I've never done anything like that before and I cannot wait to grow a tropical, beautiful fruit like that here in my garden. So I just wanted to read a couple of comments from the video a couple of weeks ago. You guys gave some great suggestions and I really appreciate it. So first comment is from Debbie Wheeler, who lives in Hawaii. So she knows all about growing passion fruit because they grow them like crazy there. And she said, "Aloha, Kim and Jerry. I have passion fruit growing in my home garden and at my community garden. It grows like crazy. In both areas, it thickly covers a 5-foot high fence that is 12 feet long. It should do well in the arch you showed on this video, but it will undoubtedly grow slower there in the winter months. It will take off in spring and you will have to keep it pruned." So thanks a lot, Debbie. I really appreciate your comments and I know that you're a very experienced passion fruit grower and it was very, very helpful. Now another comment that I really liked is from the Flutterbuzz Pollinator Conservation Podcast. And this person said, "You want your passion flower to get as much sun as possible and give it something to climb. It's the host plant for fritillary butterflies." Don't know if I said that right, but in your area you may have them year round. So pollinators in the garden are always a great thing and I'm definitely looking forward to having more butterflies. Now the last comment I'm going to read is from Carol Wyban. And she said, "Liliquai, or passion fruit as they're called in Hawaii, can quickly get out of control. The arch looks like a good place because it's defined and you can keep it trimmed. In many places it grows like crazy, so it might be good to have a lower light period in the wintertime to calm it down. The blooms on this plant are lovely." So guys, I super appreciated your comments. A lot of people said it is an invasive plant that can quickly get out of control. So we've got some ideas for how to contain it. Let's head over to look at the passion fruit and we'll show you how it's looking and then we'll get to planting it. My passion fruit vine was actually given to me by Nisha, our live stream moderator, about a year ago. It was a tiny little cutting when I received it, and I just planted it here in this 5-gallon Smart Pots, which is completely an inadequate spot for it here. It just has a little stake right now, and it has quickly grown and trailed all the way back into the bushes. Now I'm very excited to grow this because it's a brand new thing for me. And I'm always telling you guys to experiment and try something new, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. Passion fruit is an absolutely delicious tropical fruit. It kind of has like a jelly type inside. You can cut it in half, scoop it right out of the shell, or scoop it over ice cream in smoothies, over yogurt. It's absolutely delicious. So I'm really excited to have it growing here in my backyard. It also is very high in vitamin A and C, has a lot of nutritional and medicinal qualities. So a lot of the suggestions I've been getting are saying it's very, very invasive. So let me take you over to the trellis where I'm going to plant it, and I want to share with you a couple ideas that I have to help keep it under control here in the garden. Come on. Now my plan is to grow it here on this trellis. This trellis I think is probably about 7 feet tall. Now passion fruit is a vine. It can grow about 15 to 20 feet a year. So my plan is to really manage it here on this trellis, keep it pruned back because it is a very vigorous grower. A lot of people suggested growing it here on this fence, but I really just don't need quite that much passion fruit. So hopefully here on this trellis we can manage it and keep it under control. Passion fruit does have quite an extensive root system from what I've been reading, and a lot of people said it could take over the garden bed here. Great suggestion from a viewer who said, "Why don't you just grow it in a Smart Pots and bury your Smart Pots in the ground right here next to the trellis?" Thought that was a great idea, so thank you very much for that. The 5-gallon one I have growing in right now I think is just going to be a little bit too small for it. So I'm actually going to use this crate liner. I had an extra crate liner, and this I think is around 7, maybe close to 10 gallons. So what I'm going to do is transplant my passion fruit into here, dig a hole for the Smart Pots in the ground, and then trail it up this trellis. When you're transplanting anything, it's always a good idea to prepare your planting hole before you move your plant over. I've done that many a time and then been stuck holding a plant with no hole to put it in. So we're going to dig a nice big hole here, probably as close to the size of the crate liner as we can get. Now the Smart Pots is a fabric container and it's aerated, so there'll be plenty of drainage here. And the roots do something really great in a Smart Pot. They air prune, which keeps them from getting root bound. And some of them will grow through the fabric, but all in all, I'm hoping that it'll help manage the size of the plant this way. This will be a fun experiment. I'm always telling you guys to experiment in the garden. So it'll be really fun to give this a go and then see how the plant does. We've got a good amount of dirt moved already here, but we still have a little ways to go. So I'm gonna bring CameraGuy in to help me with this hole here.
You got it.
All right. All right, now for those of you who have never met CameraGuy, he films all of our videos, edits them, and he's also my husband. And I wanted to read a really nice comment on the last passion fruit video we did, and this one is from Jeannie Mossbrook. And Jeannie says, love it when CaliKim and CameraGuy are together as a team.
Oh yeah?
Wish Jerry, yeah, isn't that nice?
Yeah, that is
Wish
way
Jerry
cool.
did not have to work so he could be on the show more. Wouldn't that be fun, Jerry?
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you very much for that. That is awesome. Thank you.
That was really sweet, and we do love working together as a team, and I love it when he comes out here in the garden and does some of the heavy lifting for me. So I want to tell you just a little bit about the spot that we're planting the passion fruit in. First off, for those of you who don't know, we live in Southern California, so hopefully a really great spot for growing passion fruit. It does like full sun. In the summertime, this spot right here is in full sun, but in the winter, most of my garden is in the shade, so this probably only gets a couple of hours of sun in the winter, which is one person commented that might really help kind of control the growth of the passion fruit throughout the year. So really excited to get it planted. How's the hole coming along over here, CameraGuy?
Well, it's coming. Just take a look and...
Well, let me just kind of hold the
Tell me
smart pots in
how we're
here
doing.
and see how we're doing here. Now, I don't feel like we have to bury the entire smart pots, but maybe about halfway up. So I think we're going to have to go quite a bit deeper and maybe quite a bit wider as well.
All right.
Now, besides all of your wonderful comments, and I want to thank you so much for all of your suggestions, I've also been doing some of my own research as well. And from what I've been reading, passion fruit is super delicious, made into juice, made into jellies, and it can also be frozen. So I think hopefully we'll be able to produce a good amount of passion fruit right here, so I can get some in the freezer. And also it comes in lots of different varieties. I think there's hundreds of varieties of passion fruit. So I don't even know for sure what variety I have. But as far as I've been reading, there's a yellow variety and a purple variety. So it'll be kind of fun to see when my variety ripens, what color it is and how the flavor is. Now, Jerry, I don't know if you remember, but when we were on vacation a couple months ago, we actually had some passion fruit that was growing on the vine in a place that we were staying. So we picked it fresh, had it over some yogurt.
That's right.
It was really delicious. I want to say maybe it tasted kind of like a guava, but it's definitely a tropical taste.
I switched over to my dad's old pickaxe. It's a little one, it's cracked, but I just can't bear to throw it away. This is what I learned to use on. But I think this will give us cleaner edges and corners. I think we'll be ready for another measurement here soon.
Yeah, that looks good. I think because the crate liner is square, you're kind of digging a square hole, that'll be perfect.
Why don't you come on in here and take a look, see if this is what you're after.
Perfect. I think that's going to look just right. We could always fold the sides down a little bit.
Perfect.
Now, first thing I need to do is disentangle the passion fruit vine, as it is a natural climber. It has all these little tendrils here that I've already grabbed onto the vine or to the plant right behind it. But luckily it's a pretty hardy plant. So we're just going to pull those tendrils off and move it over. Pretty cool, there's already passion fruit growing on here. Hey, I think I got all the tendrils. I better not stay here too long or these tendrils might start wrapping around me and I might get stuck here. And what we need to do now is, whoa, is get it out of the 5-gallon smart pots and into the crate liner. So what I'm going to do is just fold down the sides and then I can just lift it straight back. You can see here I've already got my drip irrigation hose in, so that'll just make it that much easier to get hooked up in here. Well, I decided it would be easier to sacrifice this pot and just go ahead and cut the sides to get this passion fruit vine out. It's going to be a whole lot easier just to lift it out and move it right back. Oh yeah, so much easier. Look at that. So they're kind of stuck to the sides of the pot, which is a good thing. I want you to hand their camera guy. Thanks. Okay, there we go. Into its new home. Wow, this is fun. Got an extra hand there, camera guy, to hold the sides open for me. Thank you. Wow. Now I do just want to show you guys how fantastic this root system looks here. There are a ton of roots in this pot. And that's one thing about growing in the smart pots too, is that the roots don't circle around and get root bound. but they air prune, which means they form like a fibrous mass. And you can see here how fibrous the roots are. They look absolutely fabulous. And I'm not gonna worry too much that some of the roots got damaged because passion fruit is such a vigorous grower that it's gonna catch right back up. But what I am gonna do though is add some fresh nutrients to this container. Now, some of you might be wondering, why don't you just put the container on top of the soil? Well, I really didn't want the container look here. I wanted to kind of look like it was part of the garden bed. So that's why we're kind of setting it halfway in. And I am gonna add my favorite nutrients so it has some brand new growth very, very quickly. And you guys know what it is, the Vermistera worm castings. I'm gonna add a couple of handfuls here to this container around the base of the plant so we get lots more good root growth. And you can definitely reuse your potting mix, but you do want to add some fresh nutrients when you transplant to give it a fresh new burst of growth. So I'm going to pour in some of the Good Dirt potting mix in here. And I really like the Good Dirt because it's very water retentive and it has lots of good organic nutrients in it. I'm just getting the soil nice and moistened down. I always like to plant in pre-moistened soil. That way the plant has all the water it needs to get off to a fresh start. And this is looking good. Now what I'm doing is putting the drip irrigation back into place in my smart pots. I'm just going to use the native soil here for this to fill it in. Now that we have the plant all set, I'm going to go ahead and fertilize it. You definitely want to fertilize when you're transplanting because sometimes plants do tend to go into a little bit of a transplant shock and the fertilizer really helps them bounce back. So here I'm using the Vermistera worm tea. Water-soluble fertilizers are great to use because they're readily available to the plants. So the plant will be able to uptake it and then start off with a fresh new burst of growth. Here's the Good Dirt plant food. And we already added the worm castings to the soil. It's nice to use a little combination of those because the worm castings fertilize the plant over time. And then these water-soluble fertilizers will fertilize the plant and help the plant grow right away. So go ahead and pour it some in here, nice and deep so it gets down to the roots. And I'm also gonna give the leaves a little dose too. That's called a foliar feeding. And the leaves actually take up the fertilizer very, very quickly and help the plant just take off. Now what I'm going to do is do my best to position this vine, which is already quite long, a lot longer than I thought here, on the trellis, very gently, and it'll probably take a week or so, or a few days to a week to grab onto it. I'm going to kind of tie it up to start with, just so we can get it going. Doing my best not to break it. Wow, it's a lot taller than I thought. I don't even know if I'm going to need to tie it on. I might just kind of wind it around here. Those of you that said this is a vigorous grower, you weren't kidding. This is probably already about 10 feet tall. It's kind of fun to already see fruit hanging down. I might have to get like a step stool or something to get up here. Let's see if I can reach. I am trying to tie some in the middle and on the side so I can kind of train it where I want it to go, the best I can anyway. And I can tell we are going to have to be frequently pruning this vine so it doesn't overgrow this area. That way we can manage the size. Well, I got my plant in and I decided to leave the stake in for a little bit longer until the plant gets good and established. Super excited to finally have it planted. And I think it's going to frame the entrance here to the hill garden very, very nicely. And oh my goodness, I cannot wait to harvest these delicious tropical fruit. I want to thank you guys for all of your suggestions. It was great to see everybody participating in getting this passion fruit planted. So make sure you subscribe and grow along with me. Camera Guy, thank you so much for your help today.
You got it.
Really appreciate it. And looking forward to coming back and giving you updates as the passion fruit grows. Make sure you head over to CaliKimGardenHome.com, check out my seed and garden shop, and comment below. Let me know if you're growing passion fruit or if you have any other suggestions for me. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video.